To start off, we have a bit of an enigma in Geno Smith, who has a range of 11 for his placement in the 4 advanced stats that I use to form one universal metric for a quarterback. So he's a bit all over the place. I would say most of the time quarterbacks have a range of about 5 or so. So it's definitely a bit heightened with Geno Smith. And the opinions of him are also kind of all over the place. I would say there are some people that think he's anywhere from average to like top 10. So that may not seem like the biggest range, but it kind of is, because a lot of quarterbacks are kind of solidified as to what they are, and most people have a sort of agreed to consensus, whereas Geno, he's kind of just person by person for his ranking. I personally am a little bit higher on him than I would say the consensus is. Part of that is because I think he's an awesome story to come back and actually have a legitimate NFL career after all his initial failings in the league. I think that's pretty dope. But just as a player as well, I think he's very solid. With that out of the way, he is certainly divisive. But one thing we can agree to is the fact that he has a very good supporting cast, as the supporting cast for him starts with DK Metcalf, who is 8th in yards per game and 15th in yards per reception. He is one of the absolute best receivers in the league. He's great at winning deep downfield with his incredible athletic abilities, but he can also bully you in the short yardage game, so there's basically nothing he can't do. The number 2 for Seattle is also divisive, like Geno Smith, because it's either Jackson Smith and Jigba or Tyler Lockett. There's not really a great consensus, I won't say, on who's who. I personally think at this point, with Lockett slowing down a little bit and JSN starting to really hit his stride, I would argue that it's Njigba. Njigba is 17th in yards per game and 71st in yards per reception. They're sort of equidistant in their proficiency of stats, Lockett and Njigba, as Njigba is decently higher in yards per game, but Lockett is decently higher in yards per reception. So it's an efficiency versus proficiency in the short game, basically. Lockett, 53rd in yards per game, 43rd in yards per reception. So Lockett is a bit more of a deep downfield burner, even at his advanced age, than Njigba is. Njigba is a true slot receiver, meaning he does his work in the short to intermediate parts of the field with great efficiency. So they really mesh nicely off each other with their skill sets. Noah Fant, their tight end, is 88th out of all players in yards per game and 87th in yards per reception. So he's a very solid player in his own right. The cutoff I have is for any receiver being 113th or better, which may seem like an odd number, and it is, so that is correct. But the reason I arrived to that number is because there's 96 wide receiver 1 through 3s, and then there would be 17 tight ends that would be at that number or better. So Fant definitely clears that. He's better than wide receiver 3s. He's better than half of the tight ends in the league. He's a very solid player. He's also a capable blocker, which is a bit surprising because he didn't start out as that, or at least he wasn't built as that early on in his career. He may have been more capable than I'm perceiving him to be early on in his career, but he wasn't regarded as being a very good blocker, especially when compared to TJ Hawkinson, who was also another Iowa tight end in the same draft as Fant. One thing the Eagles talking about another team now, all of a sudden for some reason, the Seahawks, the other bird team, they are really poor at pass protection. They're 26th in pass pro when combining PFF's pass protecting metric with ESPN's pass blocking win rate. So they are in the bottom 10. They're solidified there. That is partly due to Abraham Lucas being hurt for the entirety of this season up until week 11. But that's not all that it is. They just also don't have very much talent in that regard. So that holds them back considerably. One thing that also holds them back, and this is similar probably to their pass protection issue, is their running efficiency, where they rank 30th in rushing expected points added, which if you don't know what that stat is, I have a video that breaks it down. It's an awesome stat that is useful in defining how well an offense, defense, quarterback, you name it, how well they are performing. They're also 26th in rushing success rate, so they are not getting off long plays, and they're not consistently having successful plays either. Defensively, they're about dead average, a little worse than average, which is a little disappointing because Mike Macdonald is a fantastic defensive mind. He is not able to completely turn around the erratic, I would say, talent of the team defensively. They definitely have some star caliber players. They have some good guys as well. Then they have some lower end talent also. Defensively, they're 18th in expected points added and 21st in defensive success rate. So again, they're a little bit below average. Not tremendously so, but enough to be noticeable. They have, I would say, 6 above average defensive starters, with Devon Witherspoon being the star of the show. He is super physical. He is not the most athletic, but he's athletic enough, and he is just so technically refined, especially for being so young. Already, this is his second year, I believe, in the NFL, but he plays like a 10-year vet. And he is nicely paired with Riek Woolen, who is 6'4" and has incredible speed. So they can match Woolen onto the more athletic receiver when they do match up against receivers. And just in general, they're never going to be completely at a disadvantage because they have a really refined player in Witherspoon and a more athletic freak in Woolen. In addition to that, they have Jordan Love. Not Jordan Love. That would be interesting if they had Jordan Love on defense. They have Julian Love, the safety. He's an elite, I would say, balanced safety. He's really solid against the run. He's really good in coverage. He is a do-it-all type of player. Kobe Bryant is their other safety. He has been a great surprise. He has been a really, really good contributor. Another really good balanced player with proficiency, obviously, as a run defender, and really good skills as a coverage player also. As for the front seven, they have Boye Mafe, who's a great run defender and all right pressure getter. Not really too much to say there. He's pretty solid, I would say, all around, but more so a run defender than he is a pass rusher. And similarly, but less dramatic, is Leonard Williams. Williams is an elite run defender, one of, I would say, the 5 best defensive tackles in run defense in the entire league. And then he's a great pass rusher also. So he's not quite as good of a pass rusher as he is a run defender, but he's really good in both regards. They have 2 bad defenders, I would say, with Josh Jobe struggling mightily in coverage as a corner, and Draymond Jones struggling as a run defender. That's not great. That really allows itself to be problematic in both facets of the game, and that weakness can be targeted in pass coverage for Jobe. Obviously, you can target the weak link of the defensive backs with pretty good ease, I would say, in the modern NFL, and you can run directly at Jones and have success there. So they do have some issues, but overall they have a fair amount of talent on defense as well. They have a lot more talent than they do deficiency of talent on that side of the ball. Those are my thoughts on the Seahawks. Be sure to let me know what yours are in the comment section, and also be sure to like and subscribe for more NFL content.